I think it ties to the biggest.
The one of our lives.
The one of our lives. Autism. Can you put autism up on the board?
The face of autism, William Gates.
I just looked at it.
If his mom hadn't had so much Tylenol, he would not have invented Microsoft.
All right, I have done a deep dive into vaccines and autism. I would argue this is maybe the biggest conspiracy theory, maybe alongside Epstein, of our lifetimes. At least one of the biggest.
At least in terms of people changing or their behavior,
yeah,
or
like one of the most
actions in our life. It's
impactful,
impactful
you know.
right now.
So, vaccines and autism. If you are like me, you've probably heard many times, vaccines are obviously safe. These kook heads are just absolutely wild. The science is settled. So, what exactly are vaccine skeptics, obviously like myself, saying? There are really three core things. It's not just this, I'm sure there are some people, but for the most part, it's not just like vaccines are scary and bad. There's three things that they specifically are trying to kind of like push. So one is the MMR vaccine. This is the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccines. These are pretty shitty diseases that kids get. So since the introduction of these vaccines decades ago, this problem has largely gone away.
They've eradicated measles and mumps, or at least until recently.
Yeah,
it's coming back.
Very large.
What I like about this conspiracy theory is that it's pretty apolitical, actually. There's like the crunchiest left-wing California mom, and then like the most southern, you know, NASCAR watching right-wing guy.
Yeah,
and they both agree that we shouldn't give their kids vaccines.
Yeah,
for
they both have kids with
They're
measles.
kids with measles.
9/11 and vaccines really reuniting the partisan sides.
I think a quick interjection to add on to that. I saw a map that it was showing the vaccination rates in children in grade school right now. And it was interesting to see how apolitical the map was. So some of the states with like the highest rates of vaccination still are states like, I think Alabama, I think Missouri, and then other states that have lower rates are states like California, or there's just like not a simple, typical political trajectory that you see across issues like this for this specifically. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. So yesterday I chatted with Aiden's friend Sam, who's a resident in infectious disease. He's an MD, right? And like deeply researches this stuff. And chatted with him about some of the core theories about why vaccines might be dangerous and why they might cause autism. But also now broadly, there's this concern. Maybe they're causing the chronic diseases that are growing every year. So I think let's start with some ground truth. One, there is truth that chronic diseases and autism rates have skyrocketed over the past few decades. It is true that the number of chronic diseases and the number of autism diagnoses, at least, has massively increased. Now the number, at least that was said yesterday by Trump, is 1 in 31 kids. That used to be 1 in 20,000 a couple decades ago. So what used to be this extremely obscure thing is now we all talk about it all the time, everybody being autistic. Like it feels like it's, 1 in 5 or something like that. Of course, the caveat here is we don't know what causes autism. And also the way that we diagnose autism has massively expanded. Turns out not a lot of people went to autism diagnoses 50 years ago. That wasn't a thing. And so as you expand the knowledge and awareness and the people who are diagnosing this, you massively increase the number of people who are autistic compared to before. But then there's a 1998 study.
Yeah, also like the severity before it counts as it, right? I feel like people nowadays would say relatively minor autism, but this wouldn't even register on the scale before. And
this
is
a part of it. There has been a large expansion of what counts or what is diagnosed as autism over time. There's more of a spectrum to these diagnoses than there ever were before, whereas in the past it was only people who had some more severe version of autism where like maybe they can't speak or they have a stronger learning disability or they can't live on their own without their parents. Like
I think nowadays they just check if you have the Lemonade Stand Patreon, and if you do, you're diagnosed. They just let you right in. And
if
so
you have more than 10 messages in the Lemonade Stand Patreon, dude, lock me up.
Your mom loved Tylenol.
All right, so the conspiracy starts in 1998. There's this doctor, I believe Andrew Wakefield, I didn't write it down, but this doctor in the UK who releases a study, and it shows that kids who are getting specifically the MMR vaccine, again, this measles, mumps, rubella one, had a massively increased rate of autism. It turns out there's only 12 of these kids. That is a tiny study to insinuate that vaccines are likely causing, in his conclusion, gastrointestinal issues that are then causing some sort of mental change that is causing kids to have this. It also doesn't help that he was invested, had stake in another company that was making a competing MMR vaccine that was about to come out. So he had a little bit of a stake. But even if you assume the best intentions here, this is not a rigorous study. There's no control group. It's 12 kids. That's tiny. And so this is what largely sparked everything, because now there is a study that points to it. And we've kind of talked, this is a theme we've talked about a bunch today, which is that now even if somebody comes in and says, no, that's not true, somebody will say, well, you skewed your research to try to show that it's not the case, or you didn't show for this control thing, or you didn't show for this. One of the things that Sam emphasized to me as I talked with him is that the effect of the MMR vaccine is one of the most, if not the most studied thing in medicine, right? So if you just want to trust data, there's millions and millions and millions of children in cases where this has been examined since. To the medicine, like to the medical community's credit, as it often should have, since 1998, there have been a shitload of studies. In the UK, more than 3 million person years of observation confirmed an increase of autism diagnoses despite the MMR vaccination rates not changing. A whole bunch of this happened in Scandinavia as well. Basically, they're showing as autism rates have increased, the vaccinations have not. There doesn't appear to be any connection. Autism symptoms aren't showing up a connection. They start doing like sibling studies to show that people in the same home, like one who gets vaccine and one doesn't, that doesn't seem to change anything. And then the other counter argument is, of course, getting measles is really, really bad. And so if you're weighing the risk reward, even if there are potential side effects, like the measles can cause autoimmune diseases, cause immune amnesia, all these horrific things. 1 in 5 kids gets hospitalized.
What's extra fucked about it is, like, first of all, it's parents making decisions for their kids, you know, so they don't get to say if decide whether they're going to this or not.
Just ride out the measles, son.
But also, that's too partisan. Do a crunchy liberal California mom voice.
Son, I'm listening to you and you're listening to me, but I think you need to ride the measles out.
Can they be a couple now?
Honey, stop doing that woke nonsense with our son. He will not be getting measles.
Jerry, stop yelling at our son. Stop
I'm trying to watch the NASCAR.
We'll speak to him like you would another adult.
All right, honey. We're still in love, though. It's actually a beautiful relationship.
It's beautiful. And the kid is stuck in the middle. So this is really the core thing here. I think people, because of this study, there have been a number of studies since, a lot of examination, and it's like millions and millions and millions of cases that, as I look through a lot of the resources that Sam provided me, it's like the evidence is overwhelming. And look, I'm somebody who, hopefully it's clear through this show, like I really want to try to understand the other side. I really went into this of like, is there any truth to this? And man, it's like, I don't know how much more data you can get. It's one of those things of we're pretty sure that it's still fine. This is one of the most studied things, man. So it's hard to believe it.
Every time I've looked into this, it's like, it is kind of this giant truck versus coughing baby. Like, it's like, whoa, this study said that there's an increased rate of autism, like sample size 12. And then like a Danish metadata study of like 4 million children says no.
That's the thing. Yeah. It's like 1 million kids in Scandinavia, 1 million kids in Norway, 1 million kids in Canada. It's like there's so much data on this that it's just like, this is clearly not the thing, at least from what I can tell. So that's one, is they're just saying, look, this particular vaccine is too much. And why are you combining all these together? Why are you putting measles and mumps and rubella into one vaccine? Why not spread it out? That also has a bunch of follow-up studies that are like, this doesn't seem to show the difference.
It kind of brings us back. Well, this is what I felt was so fucked up about Trump's press conference about Tylenol and autism and yesterday, because if you're just doing this kind of vibes-based, throwing it out, seeing it can't be bought, whatever. Well, the problem is, I think things like this, sorry, I'm smoking too many packs a day. I think for parents, there's just such a deep fear that what if, it's like, even if you're the fact following, you hear all the studies, for like a mom who's like, I don't want my kid to have autism. It's just like,
I get it.
Once it's in your head, they start getting, it's a fear that is irrational and it overrides 10 different studies. You can link me 100 different studies.
It's just that even if you believe that, it just overrides the other. Why does it override the other part of this that is like, what if my kid gets measles and dies? What if that?
That's the crazy part. And also the part that if your kid gets measles, it will spread to people who don't share your fucking beliefs. So now you've like brought back a dead disease. It is a...
Well, this is one of... I remember having a pretty serious conversation with Sam, who you talked to, about this a while ago. And when it was before Trump was elected, and it was the idea that RFK was going to be put into the position he is in now. And one of Sam's greatest fears was like, with something like measles, which spreads, it is incredibly contagious. We're lucky to be in a position where it's effectively been stomped out, or at least was effectively stomped out until more recent times, right? And the issue is that right now it's under wraps under a vaccine that is really, really effective, right? But you don't need the whole population to stop taking measles vaccines for this to become a problem. You need just a large enough chunk of people to stop giving their kids measles vaccines so that it's spreading around so often and mutating so quickly again that the measles vaccine as it is no longer effective, and kids who have gotten the vaccine start to get it more often, start to spread it around more often. And this, as like a US policy, could affect enough children in enough places that the risk of the disease spreads beyond the country itself, because the measles doesn't care about, like, it doesn't stop at the US-Canada border and be like, I wonder if I can get in. That was his greatest fear, is like you're at the beginning of a spiraling consequence that reaches far beyond the parents and families that choose not just to get their kids vaccinated. It affects potentially so many more people around you and around the world.
Yeah. As funny as it is to laugh at dead unvaccinated children, as you always say.
As you always say.
We have an example in modern memory, which is COVID, right? And COVID kept mutating, and we get a new strain every 6 months that was like more contagious, more shit, right? And so we've seen this. If a virus just keeps spreading constantly, it'll change. And that's the fear here is again, not only the people who are not getting vaccinated, on top of that, there's people who can't get vaccinations for whatever reason, if they have like, some autoimmune issue or something like that.
And those people are protected by the high rate of vaccination and everyone else.
Right, right. So it's really destructive. It's unfortunately incredibly dangerous and pretty sad. The two other points, because we've hit the core of it, but the two other, again, I think if you want to just understand the argument, why people are afraid, one is MMR vaccine. The second is mercury. So we used to have thimerosal, which is 50% ethyl mercury in vaccines for a number of years. That was basically to prevent bacteria from growing in it when it was being used multiple times. So you might think, why the fuck we put mercury in vaccine? Well, it's not the same as elemental mercury, but the name mercury sounds scary. So literally out of abundance of caution, American Academy of Pediatrics in 1999 said, let's just remove it so that people aren't even worried about it. And then that was taken as proof that there's mercury in the vaccines that is causing issues. And so like with many of the conspiracy theories, this didn't even have a real grounding in harm. But because they removed it, that was taken as a signal of, see, it's bad. And then last is the idea of just there's too many vaccines. And so you might reasonably say, okay, in 1980, kids got 7 vaccines when they're a kid. Now it's 14. 14 is a bigger number than 7. Okay? So,
holy fucking shit.
Right?
Dude, this is the bombshell.
Right. Except the way
7 is more than 0. So we never should have done vaccines.
That's true. The thing is, so a vaccine, you inject antigens into your body, meaning they're part of the virus, right? And your body learns to recognize those antigens, builds up fighters against them, and then when you actually ever get exposed to the virus, your body's ready to go. Okay.
That was so white blood cell.
That's how they do it.
So in 1980, those 7 vaccines had 3,000 antigens in them. So you were getting a very large variety and large dose of these different antigens that represented many different viruses. Over time, we've learned how to make those more effectively. So in total, the 14 vaccines now have less than 200 antigens.
Oh, interesting.
If you're doing the math, it's about a 15th of the amount of actual antigens going into your body now in those 14. So yes, it is true that 14 is bigger than 7. It is also true that 3,000 is quite a bit bigger than 200, but that's not the number people think about because they're not thinking about antigens. And again, with all of these things, there's a lot more you can go into. So these 3 elements, honestly, I really wanted to come in here and be like, is there something? And I don't have it, man. It seems pretty thoroughly
God, I
thought
hate
through.
his lack of conviction.
I really, yeah. So there's a couple interesting talking points before we kind of start wrapping this. One, what is RFK Jr. doing? There's a lot of, I think, fear around RFK Jr., the new human health secretary at America. He's not trying to ban vaccines, so that's good. The couple things he's doing, he's trying to split the combination shots into multiple separate ones. As far as the science shows, that doesn't do anything, but if people take them separately, whatever, that should be fine.
Well, it's just that they're less likely to take them now. Once you add the fear and say, well, you should take them separately just to be safe.
And, removing,
at
a state level, removing the requirements for your kids to have to take those to go to school. Like, I think
so requirements are being dropped. The population level recommendations of like all parents should do this, that's now being dropped. But again, you still can go do it. He's saying we need to fully eliminate all that mercury from the vaccines. Again, never really did anything to begin with, but that one's like, sure, man, that's fine. He's replacing new leadership. So as of now, it seems like he's encouraging the mindset of make your own choice. He is not banning vaccines. It does not appear that he wants to. He has said, I'm not taking vaccines away from people. Everybody can still get them. So it's not
the problem
great.
with vaccines, though, is it almost can't be make your own choice, because if enough people don't make the right choice, then everybody is impacted.
Okay, so this leads to the second point, which is the unfortunate piece of this.
Yeah.
Big pharma and the United States healthcare system blows ass. And that's not a conspiracy.
True.
Conspiracy. It's great.
Perfectly willing to fuck us over in so many ways to extract the maximum amount of profit. I do not think that is conspiracy. We've talked about it many times. Everybody fundamentally knows us. And what sucks about this vaccine thing is that it is enriching pharmaceutical companies, that we do have to go, okay, in this category, yes, you guys are correct. Please keep doing what you're doing. And it sucks when the side that you're trying to advocate for is a side that is universally hated, where there's so much evidence of how they are willing to fuck people over for profit. And then you have to go, no, in this case, it's actually fine. They're not forcing you to take the COVID vaccine for money. That's not, look, it's just literally the best thing. Ivermectin is not the solution. But when you've, in your entire lifetime, seen how shitty our system is, it is easy to question.
It's what builds the resent and the distrust.
It's what builds the resent.
Allows in the situations where it doesn't apply to fester.
Right. Yeah. It's what allows then when Facebook takes a post down. Like it's this big cabal of fucking pharma that seems to be related to big government that connects to all of this.
Guys, we're coming up on time, and I have now realized that you are part of the CIA.